G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to War Thunder. Today, we're going to have a look at a pretty special plane. This is the P-51A, and you might be thinking, well, it's a P-51, surely it can't be that special, let alone the A variant. Now, this particular P-51 isn't the standard that you see in the tree. It's a very, very rare Thunder League plane, and I say very, very rare, and lo and behold, there's another P-51A in the game with me. Yes, this plane is extremely rare, actually. It's only achievable, could only unlock it in Thunder League Season 1. And for those of you who don't know what that was a professional esports season for War Thunder, where it was 7 versus 7. And you could either take tanks or planes, and you played on a few maps like Poland, Eastern Europe, Karelia, Berlin, I think. And everyone just sort of duked it out in a domination game mode. And it was quite interesting to watch because it was a really interesting way to, for me, learn how to, for a start, engage with CAS, SPAA, learn some interesting angles to shoot from, learn interesting power positions. But we're not here to talk about Thunder League. We're here to talk about the P-51A. And the P-51A could be obtained by doing some special tasks that you had to go through. I think there were 10 tasks or something like that you had to do. I can't exactly remember. But I was given this plane by Gaijin to make a video for you. And because I actually didn't get the P-51A originally. I did get the M24 Chaffee originally, but that was through a live stream. I didn't actually complete any of the challenges, which is a real shame, because I really like some of those skins, and I kind of wish I had them, but that's a bit in the past now. I can't really do anything, so at least we have the P-51A for you to show on the channel. Now, we are facing the Japanese, and one thing the Japanese are really, really good at is turn fighting, but they don't only have turn fighters. Now, this plane sits at battle rating 3.0, which means that if you're slightly up-tiered, you can face stuff like the J2M, which is not quite a turn fighter, but it's not quite a boom and zoomer either. It's somewhere in between. It'll still sort of outrun you, especially at high altitudes where this plane performs a lot worse. This plane especially performs well at about 3,000 to 4,000 meters, and I will be using this in this battle, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Now, if you're put into a slight down tier, that's where the trouble arises with the Japanese, because at 3.3, for example, you have the A6M2 and the A6M3, and at 2.7, you have the Premium Corsair. Now, the Premium Corsair throws a massive spanner in the works with the Japanese, and I think it's one of the hidden gems of the Japanese tech tree. It's on the Japanese team, which often faces, or often gets victories because people just simply turn fight with them, and rule number 1 is do not turn fight with the Japanese, especially Zeros. And people at this stage in the game, especially at battle rating 2.7, 3.0, where I am at the moment, they don't tend to know the basics of War Thunder combat, and so you'll end up with a lot of people trying to turn fight you in stuff like Zeros, and if you're a bit experienced, you can position your Japanese Corsair so well that when they're in the middle of a turn fight, you can come in, boom and zoom, nice, easy kills. Not only that, but you're an extremely well-performing plane for 2.7. In fact, I don't think the first Corsair should be 2.7. It used to have some terrible performance, but now, it's got incredible performance, and it's just beautiful. I don't know why it's 2.7, I think it could go all the way to 3.3, to be honest, because I think it's capable of competing with the likes of the P-47. But we're not going to go any further into that discussion today. What we're going to have a look at is where the enemy team is, and what I'm doing to compete against them. Now, you can see that B-34 Ventura down below off my nose, and he's getting swarmed, which is a good thing for me. He is doing some good baiting work. He's baiting the entire enemy team down low, and my abilities are becoming a little bit more apparent. I'm able to gain that energy advantage, and then my hopes and dreams get absolutely shattered. There's an F4U Corsair, 2 Zeros, at my altitude, I pull a quick head-on with this Corsair. Nothing, I go underneath him again as he tries to roll over, but we both continue straight forward, and I don't see him again for a little while, because I've got these 2 zeros to deal with. Now, I know the float zero is very, very slow, so the only problem that I really have is that guy up there, off to my right, A6M20. He's slightly gaining on me, but I know at my altitude of 4,000 meters, I will outperform him in speed. I go around and try to engage him head on to try and force him low, because I know that zero is going to come nice and soon. So I get a quick shot onto the A6M, nothing really. I miss everything, and he manages to evade my guns. One thing that I do is I do not turn with him any more than I have already. I continue in a straight line, I burn that WEP, and he has to turn around to engage me, which means he'll bleed energy. And that means that I will be able to get a slight energy advantage. And every little energy advantage against a Japanese zero makes all the difference. And you will see later exactly what I mean by when you get an energy advantage, you can absolutely dominate. And dominate, I certainly do this match. But as you can see, it started off pretty slow. We're about 6 minutes into the match, and I haven't even gotten a kill. I haven't even gotten a hit yet. I've come across 2 planes and haven't done anything. I can see that my team is starting to fall apart, but a lot of the Japanese planes are at low altitude. And so I think, you know what, my team is dying. I need to do something now. I need to thin out their numbers. I need to get some work in. They have a couple of planes up at altitude, but my team is sort of in a couple of little clusters, and I need to go for that now. So what I do is I put the plane into a dive, and I spot all of the planes that are on the deck. I need to make sure that I get rid of them really quickly. I hold off on that WEP so I don't overspeed. You can see I'm hitting 820 kilometers per hour. Get some shots off into that Kai 45, and I get a nice little fire, and he burns. Now I'm putting the plane straight back up into the vertical. I can see a Corsair starting to dive in, and so I keep my climb. I burn that WEP, and get the hell out of there. I still have a massive energy advantage. You can see I'm pulling away from that Corsair at an astonishing rate, and that plane has probably better performance than what I do. So you can see exactly what an energy advantage does to a plane. I'm at least 2 kilometers from this Corsair, and he can't do anything because he's just out of energy. So what I do is I put the plane into a slight rollover, and I try and come back down on this Corsair, especially while all the other enemies are off to my slight right, and they're being engaged by that P-36, or they're slightly distracted, I suppose. The Corsair goes in for a turn, and then tries to pitch up into me, but you can see he's just got no energy left. That right wing, you can see the smoke coming off, he's stalling, and I get a nice, easy kill. So, I turn around. I bleed a bit of energy, because I can see that I need to dispatch of some enemies very, very quickly. Now, there's a Kai 45. I decide to not go for that guy. I chuck a quick head-on with the Corsair, get nothing really, and then I go straight into the vertical, give him a profile, avoid giving him a profile shot, and now I'm in a little bit of trouble. Because I did that turn, I bled a lot of energy, and now that Corsair is starting to catch me, but I have a good teammate in the P-39N to save me. He distracts the Corsair and forces him to turn. The other Corsair at low altitude is starting to catch me, but then with my energy advantage, I break away. Now, as you can see with the P-51A, it has really, really good performance, but not so great guns. You need a lot of gun time, and what I need to do is sort of stall the enemies out, get them distracted perhaps, and maybe get them nice and slow, so I don't have to burn my WEP, so I don't have to commit to a turn fight, especially against the Japanese, and this P-39N is doing a perfect bait. All 3 enemies are fixated like sheep on this guy. And I get a wing crit on the Corsair, I get a crit on the Kai 45, I decide to pitch up for that Corsair, Kai 45 goes into the drink, and I just roll back over on the Corsair because he's got no energy left. And there I go, I have every advantage. I get a nice fire, and he's dead. That's an ace. That is an ace game right there, just by keeping my energy. The amazing things that you can do when you work as a team and when you keep your energy is absolutely astonishing. There is a ridiculously infinite amount of things that you can overcome. Even if you have energy in a plane that perhaps doesn't use it well, like a D5 Stuka, you can still use your little advantages to benefit you in such incredible ways. And the P-51A is a really, really good example of that. I'm facing arguably superior planes. The Corsair has better guns, better climb rate, better maneuverability, and a slightly comparable top speed. And there's not a whole lot that I can do against a Corsair if he's behind me. But if I have an energy advantage on this Corsair, there is simply nothing that they can do, because they can't. They can't really turn outside my guns, simply because of the laminar flow wings on the P-51. What exactly is a laminar flow wing? It's a specific wing design that was favored in jets, for example, and higher end propeller planes, such as the P-51D. Now, one of the things that the laminar flow wing benefits is high-speed maneuverability. So if you're diving at, say, 600 kilometers per hour, you find that you won't actually compress. You'll find that you tend to maneuver slightly better. And one of the traps that you can fall into as a P-51 pilot is using that energy and turning too often, thinking that you've got some advantages. Whereas realistically, you've only really got first turn and maybe second turn if you're lucky. And then you'll start to bleed your speed where you should really be keeping it. And as you can see, I've done that really well in the P-51. I've kept my energy well enough to get myself an ace game against planes that are arguably superior. Now, back to the match. I have pretty much used up a lot of my ammo, and I don't want to risk fighting the last one or two people without extra ammunition. I really can't go off much ammunition like that, and it's just, last guy could be a zero and he could be doing insanely tight turns, and I won't be able to get guns on very easily, so I may need to spray a bit. And what I've done is I've just turned off the WEP, sitting on 100% throttle, and gentle climb back to the carriers. Now, Pacific maps have a bad habit of having too many carriers and nowhere near enough flat airfields or land-based airfields, which means that carrier planes have a very easy time and non-carrier based planes have a very difficult time landing, especially land-based fighters that have a very high wing loading. And one of the things that a laminar flow wing gives a plane is a high wing loading. Very low speed capabilities, but very high speed capabilities. And one of the things that the P-51A is definitely bad at is low speed maneuvers. To land, you need to reduce your speed. And one of the things that a P-51 Mustang has difficulty in a lot is landing on a carrier. Obviously, the plane is heavy, the plane is fat, designed for high speeds. And as you can see, while I'm doing some maneuvers to shake off a bit of excess speed, I'm not performing very well. I'm very, very sluggish. And so what I need to do is I need to take it nice and carefully. I need to, I guess, test my luck. Now, one of the good things of the P-51 is it's got that air scoop underneath, which means that you can potentially belly land if you're careful enough. You've got to be very, very careful, because otherwise you will dip a wing into the ground, or you'll kill the pilot somehow, or your tail will come off somehow. So you've got to be extremely careful. And what I'm doing is I'm working the throttle very gently, working the flaps gently to just test out what speed I should come in at. And I'm thinking somewhere between 180 to about 200 kilometers per hour, sitting in at 40% throttle, and then I gently back it down just to test the waters, just to see if I can make it. Now, I come in nice and hot, I check my vertical horizon, and I place it nicely. A little bit of a hard landing, but I land it straight on that air scoop, straight on the engine, and I get a nice, clean, soft landing. That can be very, very difficult to pull off. And one of the things that the carrier planes have a great advantage on is a map like this. It's a shame that the P-51 never had a tailhook, but I guess in real life it never needed one. that's no worries because we're back up in the air and we're looking for our 6th kill. So I pop a quick blind hunt and lo and behold, it is a Ki-49. Now, what exactly is a Ki-49? No one ever plays the Japanese, and I understand why. I know a lot of you really enjoy playing the Japanese, but personally for me, every time I play turn fighters, it gets very boring very quickly. Unless there's some sort of intense challenge, for example, other turn fighters. So a good example of that is the G55 and the Spitfire F Mark 9 or the Spitfire Mark 5C. They, for me personally, are a really good matchup. And it's a shame that I don't see a lot of good enough Spitfire pilots in my G55, and I don't see a lot of G55s when I go flying Spitfires, which makes for a pretty boring matchmaker for me. I really, really love these turn fighting engagements, so who can be the best turn fighter? I mean, the G55 and the Griffin Spits and the G56 are a bit more in the energy fighting area, but I still love that dynamic. It's really, really nice, and I think the F Mark 9 and the G55S are pretty much perfect matches for each other. They both turn about the same, they both climb about the same, they both have decent-ish guns. I kind of like that matchup, and I honestly wish I saw it a bit more. But nonetheless, we have the Ki-49, which is a bomber. And I didn't know that, and my plane took a little bit of damage, which makes me very, very frustrated. Why? Where did that come from? I wish I knew. I wish I, didn't have to put up with this, but I guess that's my fault for flying in a straight line. Little tip, when you're against AI destroyers, don't fly in a straight line. Vary your course every now and then, and they won't kill you. This Ki-49 decides to try and be funny and turn his back towards me. So he gets his 20mm gunner facing me, but just as he turns it, I take him out, set his right engine on fire, and that boy's Japanese, so that ain't going out, and he goes into the drink. 6 kills. Not a bad result for a Thunder League plane. For a very nice plane, nice game, and against the Japanese. So, rule number 1 is don't turn fight the Japanese. Rule 2 is climb. Use your altitude, use your energy advantage, and rule 3, use your teammates. Maybe they're not great. You can still use them as bait, and there's still stuff that useless teammates can do for you in a match. You'll find that out as you play more, but for now, hope you enjoyed. Take care, and I'll catch you next time. Gaijin, please bring back Thunder League or equivalent, please. Thank you. Yes. Goodbye. See you guys.